What's up, Tailgaters? You're in the booth with Tailgate Nate today. The road to predict all 136 FBS level college football teams this summer is now taking us into Auburn, Alabama. We're going to talk about yet another team from the SEC in the Auburn Tigers, and it seems like this year is going to be different. This might be the year that Auburn finally gets back on track towards the upper echelon of the SEC. My name is Nate Pope, otherwise known as Tailgate Nate, and I want to thank you so much for clicking on this video and helping to support the channel. You want to support the channel even further? Do what it says below me. Hit the subscribe button and ring the bell, because turning on notifications will ensure you don't miss an upload, especially not your favorite team during prediction season. I'm a sports media graduate delving into the professional world of the industry, and if you want to see all the cool stuff I get to do while still being up to date what goes on this very YouTube channel, you can give me a follow on social media, Twitter or X, whatever your preference, and Instagram, it's at TailgateNate29. Feel free to even email me, tailgatenate29@gmail.com. I want to thank you all so much for supporting and interacting with me or the channel, however you may be doing so. With all that said and done and out of the way, I give you the Auburn Tigers in 2025, led by your head coach, Hugh Freeze. It has been a little slow to start the Hugh Freeze era in Auburn. Missed out on a bowl game last year, and it's a team that overall has seen struggles in one capacity or another. However, as far as the Hugh Freeze era goes, this year feels different. It feels like this is an Auburn team with all the talent they brought in is finally ready to take that step forward back towards the top of the SEC, at very least in the top half of contenders in this conference. How do we do preview predictions here on the channel for 2025? Well, we are first going to go through a roster overview. The offense is going to be to the left. The defense is going to be to the right. And at the end of the video, we'll go through the Auburn Tiger football schedule. I'll give it a game-by-game preview and prediction, and I'll let all of you fine people know what I think about the Tigers in 2025. Before we get started with all that, right down below me, returning production numbers are, according to ESPN, they do factor in portal additions up to a certain percentage, and then right down below that, recruiting and transfer portal ranks are according to 24/7 Sports. Recruiting and portal ranks, when you look at the Auburn Tigers, both ranked 8th. They are one of the few teams in the country to have a top 10 recruiting and portal class in the year of 2025 in that cycle. We, as usual, will start out by talking about the offense and your offensive coordinator, Derek Nix. Let us start by talking about the Auburn quarterback situation. Last year with Peyton Thorne, 2,713 yards, 21 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, and around 63% completion percentage. Did Peyton Thorne light the college football world, light Auburn Tiger fans on fire last season? No. However, when you take a look back at some of the previous years of production that Auburn had at the quarterback position previously, well, 2023 was not a good year for Peyton Thorne. That did not have a 2,000-yard passer. 2022 was not a good year for Auburn quarterbacks. You have to go back to 2021 when Bo Nix was there, to where, again, you had some pretty solid production out of that room, and then again, you extend that into TJ Finley. 2024 was a much improved year for the Auburn quarterback situation, and if everything works out, Jackson Arnold should improve upon that here in 2025. Now, the stat line during his Sooner days as well is not going to light you on fire. 1,421 yards, 12 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. In and of himself, you might be thinking, okay, he split time with Michael Hawkins. That stat line maybe is not horrible. Oh, let's take a look at some deeper numbers. A 47.8 QBR, that's not good. And 5.8 yards per pass. That's not yards per completion. That is yards per attempt. Yes, it does factor in when you throw an incompletion. It's a 0. But even if you were to do the yards per completion, it is under 10, which is baffling to see, especially out of a guy in Jackson Arnold that is really, really talented. Look, Jackson Arnold is a really talented player, and there were a ton of flashes at Oklahoma where you saw he was that guy, and he was the hyped high school recruit that Oklahoma thought they were getting. It didn't turn out that way as a whole. If he can improve here with Auburn, he's got some really talented pieces around him, and Auburn could have themselves quite a gem here if Jackson Arnold fixes everything that went on with the Oklahoma Sooners, especially that dynamic ability that we know is there that he just didn't have. He had no downfield passing game. In fact, he rarely had a medium passing game. Now, again, credit to Jackson, or I guess not credit. You have to factor into the fact that Oklahoma's wide receiver room was very, very beaten and battered last season. For a guy as talented as Jackson Arnold, what happened last year shouldn't have happened. He's got a lot of talent around him. Even though Jarquez Hunter out of the running back room has gone to the NFL, a 1,200-yard rusher with 8 touchdowns last season, you're going to have a solid duo coming back. Damari Alston and Jeremiah Cobb both return, and then Darrell Robinson rushed for almost 800 yards with the Yukon Huskies last year. He'll be a very vital piece to this running back room. You got some solid pieces in the backfield. As far as the wide receiver room, this could be one of the sneakily one of the best wide receiver rooms in the entire country, and it loses its leading receiver from last season. Keandre Lambert-Smith had nearly 1,000 yards and 8 touchdowns on 50 catches, was the favorite target of Peyton Thorne last season. However, younglings, true freshmen last year, they'll be true sophomores this year, Cam Coleman and Malcolm Simmons. 598 yards and 8 touchdowns for Coleman, 451 yards and 3 touchdowns for Simmons, and both of them had at least 37 catches last season. They're going to take a step up in production this year, and look at who joins them out of the transfer portal. For the second straight year, another massive addition out of the portal in the wide receiver room for the Tigers. It's Eric Singleton out of Georgia Tech. Over 100 catches and nearly 1,500 yards to go along with 9 touchdowns during his 2-year career, 2023 and 2024, as a Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket player. It's a massive loss for the Georgia Tech program, but a massive addition for this Auburn Tiger team that, again, if a lot of the depth shines and it proves itself behind these young players and an experienced vet like Singleton that could very well lead this team in receiving this upcoming season, Auburn's going to have one of the best wide receiver rooms in the country that is only going to help what Jackson Arnold has done. Oklahoma could have had one of the best wide receiver rooms in the country last year, but it was injured. So I knocked on wood because my desk is wood. And if this is a wide receiver room that can stay healthy, I think you're just innately going to see Arnold's numbers improve, but he's got to improve a lot more than just his numbers. He's got to improve his footwork, his technique, everything has got to get better with that kid. Tight end room probably will see a dip off in production because you do lose a really talented cat in Rivaldo Fairweather. The pun kind of intended. He was a former Florida International Panther type of cat, whatever. Tons of experience, however, is going to be making up this new group of tight ends. You are going to be getting a transfer coming in Preston Howard, but you pair him with some seniors, Brandon Frazier, Tate Johnson, Rico Walker. It's a very experienced unit. We'll see who sees the most playing time out of there. This is a really vital part for this Auburn offense because the offensive line sees all 5 starters come back. I'm telling you right now, all 5 starters are not going to be the starters next year. And that's not because they were bad. 27 sacks given up last year. Yeah, okay, they can improve in some facet. But more talented, experienced pieces enter the transfer portal that are probably going to take some of these starting jobs, specifically at the tackle positions. Xavier Chaplin and Mason Murphy are both transfers coming in that, according to ourlads.com, a trusted resource that I use a lot, has them starting at the tackle position, and I would agree with them. And what does that give you? That just gives you depth and experience and some really, really good pieces sitting behind. You can mix and match offensive line combinations, which I don't know that Hugh Freeze is going to do. The offensive line, I think, should see its improvement from last year. The wide receiver room, I think, is very favorable for Jackson Arnold. You're going to have a really solid run game. As long as Jackson Arnold can make his necessary improvements, I think the Auburn offense can give a lot of people trouble this upcoming season. Now, when you switch on over and you talk about this defense with DJ Durkin, it's going to be taking a lot of massive blows here. 6 of the top 8 tacklers are going to be moving on, and it's going to lead to a lot of young pieces playing in really big roles this season. Let's just kick it off right away by talking about this defensive front, right? Philip Bliddy is gone. The statistics aren't going to show you what the scouts saw. He's a very disruptive and really, really good player. 21 tackles and only 1 sack for him last year, but is an extraordinary talent on the defensive line. It is a big loss for this Auburn Tiger team. However, you are getting a sack machine coming back. And the top 5 tackler from last season, Keldrick Falk, had 45 tackles and was second on the team with 7 sacks last season. Really, really massive return. And it could be one of, if not the most experienced units on this defensive side, right? So on top of Falk, you're going to have some other really talented younger pieces that are going to get some front lines. But Zycavius Walker is coming back. Some of the young pieces like Malik Blockton and Amaris Williams, probably going to see some solid playing time, as well as some of the freshmen there, but a really talented, experienced transfer in Dallas Walker is going to be coming over to this team as well. He's going to be coming over from Western Kentucky, formerly of Texas A&M, where he had 49 tackles with the Hilltoppers out of the defensive interior last season. Linebacking room, massive blow. 4 top tacklers are gone. The 4 top tacklers out of this Auburn linebacking unit, they are all gone. All of them, all gone. And their names read as follows: Dorian Mossy, gone. 81 tackles, 2.5 sacks. He was your leading tackler last season. Uh, McLeod. Why am I blanking on that first name? I will get it, I promise. But he led the team in sacks last season. Jalen. There we go. Jalen McLeod, now with the Jacksonville Jaguars, 56 tackles, 8 sacks last season. Eugene Asante, 45 tackles, 2.5 sacks last season. And you're also going to be losing Austin Keys, who is now over with the Minnesota Vikings. Top 4 tacklers out of the linebacker room are all gone. There still are some solid pieces here. Kieron Crawford does come back. DeMarcus Riddick is also going to be returning. I know it might not be a problem for you, but I don't like splitting names between 2 lines, so I had to fix that over there. Those are going to probably be your 2 biggest pieces out of the linebacking unit. You did bring in some solid transfers, right? Chris Murray and Xavier Atkins are in, and a couple really talented freshmen, much like the defensive line room, are in the linebacking unit, could make some pretty solid impacts. When you move on to the defensive backfield, Jaron Thompson is a really, really big loss. 65 tackles and a sack for him last season, along for tied for the team lead with 2 interceptions and second on the team with 5 passes defended last season. You're probably losing one of your most experienced, and you can make the argument, best defensive backfield player last year. I say you can make the argument because you still got a lot of really good young pieces coming back. Caleb Harris is one of them. I believe a true sophomore this season. I'll fact check myself in a minute. Had 44 tackles and 3 passes defended out of the safety room. Another really big return, Kayan Lee, 32 tackles, led the team with 7 passes defended, and was tied for that team lead with 2 interceptions out of the cornerback room last season. Sylvester Smith comes back to provide a little bit lift of experience, and you got a ton of other really, really talented young guys that are going to help boost up this secondary. Leah True Jr., Harris, a true sophomore, and sorry, I was thinking of someone else here, Sylvester Smith, a redshirt sophomore. The experience piece I was thinking of is a redshirt junior is Champ Anthony. He'll play the nickelback position, and even some transfers coming in, right? Tay Seymour, Rayon Strider, and a troop of really, really talented freshmen from this recruiting class that could make a pretty big impact right away. So even though there isn't that super outstanding dynamic transfer on this Auburn defensive side, you're still getting a lot of really good portal pieces to pair with a lot of really good talent already. This is an Auburn team that if everything works out, if the depth pieces hit over here and the depth is solid for the Auburn defense, I think the talent is around Jackson Arnold offensively. If he can get better, this is an Auburn team that could see an explosion here in 2025, but how much of an explosion? Well, let's find out. Well, I told you we will find out. Here is the Auburn 2025 football schedule. But before we dive on into this, some numbers I want to make you aware of right down below me. According to FanDuel, these are the odds for Auburn to do all the different things listed down below. No, not me telling you to go place your money. That'd be very irresponsible of me. Just sort of giving you a little visual aid onto how good the odds makers think Auburn is going to be this season. They are also current as of recording this video and subject to change. Plus 2,000 odds to win the conference really is not that long of an odd number compared to some of the other teams in this conference. Auburn sits alone in 7th to win the SEC. It speaks to the talent that is on this team. And plus 5,500 odds to win the national championship, really not that long of a figure either. But this is a team that has a schedule that, for the most part, can be pretty navigable. You are without Tennessee on the schedule. You don't have to play Ole Miss. You don't have to play LSU. There's no Florida. But you do start out the season with a really, really tough non-conference game against the Baylor Bears. And to be quite honest with you, I think this game right here, these are 2 teams that I think are in very similar spots, not in terms of where their program sits or the talent or anything like that, just in terms of simply how good I think each team is going to be this season. This game very well could be the difference between an 8 4 season and a 7-5 season for both of these programs because they are right around that range. I might have very well spoiled my prediction if I should say once I flash up the color I'm going to flash up here in just one moment. But I want to talk about Baylor for a second because much like Auburn, Baylor is a team I really, really like. I like Baylor a little bit more than the Auburn Tigers, just a little bit more, at least in the early part of the season. It's a Friday game. It's going to be Friday night in Waco. And again, Auburn's going to be trying to break in some new pieces, especially that transfer quarterback Jackson Arnold in a road environment. And Baylor's a team, man, I really, really like with some amazing talent in that secondary. Tevin Williams, Carl Williams, Devin Bobby, Devin Turner, who's a safety transfer that's going to be coming in there. I think they have what it takes to lock down this Auburn wide receiver room. I think they have the defensive front pieces, especially the experience to keep this Auburn offensive line and Jackson Arnold on its heels. And I think, that this is the Baylor offense that can excel this year. Sawyer Robertson back at quarterback, a lot of really good running back pieces, even though Ashton Hawkins has the eligibility thing going on. Hopefully he gets that restored because that's ridiculous. Kobe Prentice is coming in from Alabama. You have Taz Williams, who could step up as a really big freshman if Ashton Hawkins is not ready to go because of eligibility. I really like Baylor this year. And like I just said, I think they have the pieces to contend with this Auburn team, especially early. Now, if these two teams are in the same conference and they would be playing week 11, I might have a little bit different feelings. But Baylor's got a little bit more questions than Auburn does, or I should say, Baylor has a little bit more answers right now than what Auburn does. I think Auburn has a little more questions, especially surrounding Jackson Arnold, and it's a Baylor team I think is just going to improve off of what they did at the end of last season. Baylor wins the opener, but not to fret, Tiger fans, you are going to win your next two games. Ball State and South Alabama will be easy wins for this Auburn program before you kick it on in to a slate of SEC play. And it starts out really not too pretty. At Oklahoma, it's Jackson Arnold's former team, but I think Oklahoma's going to get a lot better this season. John Mateer is coming in with his offensive coordinator, Ben Arbuckle, from Washington State. Yes, a ton of wide receiver pieces transferred out. You still got Deion Burks. You still got some solid pieces. Defense should see a big jump this season. Again, it saw a pretty sizable jump last year. Should be really good this season. And again, road environment. I just think the Oklahoma defense can be a little bit too much for this Tiger offense, as well as the fact that John Mateer, his dynamic ability, could give this Auburn secondary some trouble. I think Oklahoma's a team out of the SEC to watch this year. I think they're going to improve, and I think they get that win on, or I should say, at home against the Auburn Tigers. And I also think Auburn loses on the road to Texas A&M. A&M finally feels like they found their guy in Marcel Reed. A&M finally feels like, they have the right head coach for the job, right? They have the guy that they need to be able to start that climb back to where they were in the Johnny Manziel era at the top of the SEC, or at very least towards the top of the SEC. It felt like they were on top of the SEC, even though they didn't win a conference title. Texas A&M wants to get back there. They got the pieces to do it. Le'Veon Moss is a dog in the running back room. I think the defense is going to see some really, really good things this year, and Auburn loses back-to-back road games. This is a really tough spot for the Auburn Tigers to be in right now because you lose all three road games you've played so far. You are 2-3, and I don't think the morale around this Auburn program is going to feel that great right now. You get your bye week, and then you get this home game against Georgia. Here, to me, is where the Auburn Tigers season can look very, very confusing. Auburn has enough talent on this team to contend with a lot of the big dogs, and that includes Georgia. To me, Georgia's got some questions, but again, Georgia's going to be Georgia. Their defense is going to hit hard. They are going to be physical with you. It is a Kirby Smart-led team. They're going to be fearless, not fearful. They're going to be fearless. Now, does Gunnar Stockton have some questions to answer for me at the quarterback position? Yeah, but the talent around him is awesome. This is college football. The best team does not always win, and I get the sense from everything I've heard and read about this Auburn program that there's going to be a big win somewhere. And to me, there is too much talent on this team for it not to all come together once or twice this season. And I think they're going to beat Georgia this season. It's an upset pick. I will fully admit that. I think Georgia is the better team. But to me, again, there's just something within this Auburn program. I can't tell you what it is. Call it a gut feeling, sure. Auburn is going to beat Georgia this season. If it's not that one, they're going to get a big win this year. It could be one of those two road games I predicted a loss in earlier, or it could be the Iron Bowl against Alabama. I think it's this one here against Georgia. Comes at a perfect point in the season where you need a win and you're coming off a bye week. Now, that all being said, I think Auburn is due for one letdown game this season. I think Missouri is that letdown game, and I think Auburn loses it. Look, you're coming off a big emotional win against Georgia, and I think you get let down a little bit against this Missouri team that, look, is not going to nearly be as talented as they were last season. No Brady Cook, no Luther Burden. Some stud defensive players are gone. Running back duo is gone. Missouri has got a lot to figure out. Missouri's still going to be a very well-coached team, and Bo Pribula, I have a lot of faith, is going to be a pretty solid quarterback for Missouri. Can he be a star? We'll see. But this is a guy in Bo Pribula that I think has some really good intangibles and good things. And again, there's going to be a game to where Auburn should win this game. In my opinion, I think Auburn is more talented than Missouri. Auburn, though, it's really, really interesting to talk about the Jackson Arnold thing because I think there are going to be games this year where Jackson Arnold looks like a world beater. He can beat anyone. But in still improving, I think there's a lot to improve that can't just be fixed like that in one camp. I think Jackson Arnold is going to need some time, and there's going to be a game too where he doesn't look great. This one could be one of them, and I think they lose this one to Missouri. Good news for Tiger fans, though. Not Missouri Tiger fans, Auburn Tiger fans. I think you're going to be able to go on a nice win streak here. I think after that letdown, things start to roll for the Auburn Tigers here, and they start to build some momentum. Arkansas's got some interesting pieces, but I'm not sure about the talent surrounding Jalen Green. Yes, they did make a bowl, or sorry, not Jalen Green, Talon Green. My apologies. They did make a bowl game last year. I think it's going to be really hard to replicate that this season, especially with the schedule that they have. I think Auburn goes on the road and beats Arkansas. Kentucky needs a lot of transfer portal pieces to hit. They lost a ton, but they're bringing in a ton. One of the top portal classes in the country this year. I think they need a lot to hit. I think they need a lot to go right, and I think Auburn wins this game against Kentucky at Vandy. If there is also going to be a letdown game for Auburn, if it's not Missouri, to me, it is this game against Vanderbilt. Diego Pavia is back. There are games where Diego Pavia, look at the Alabama game last year, put the team on his shoulders and said, come on, team, we are not losing this game. Andy could still well be that this season. Diego Pavia can still do that this season. I don't see them doing it against Auburn. Again, like I said, I think this is a time in the season where Auburn starts to get some momentum rolling and they beat Vandy on the road. Very close game though, but Auburn does win. You get your second bye week. You should have no trouble with Mercer. And then here's the game against the Alabama Crimson Tide. I think Alabama is going to win this game. Alabama, to me, is more talented. I think the defense is really, really good. They got a ton of heavy hitters on that side of the ball. And then offensively, Jalen Milroe is a big loss, yes. But Kalen DeBoer is going to get a quarterback which more fits his style of play, which is the true pocket passer. Milroe was the first dual threat quarterback that he really has ever coached in major college football. Didn't have one at Fresno State, didn't have one at Washington, and I don't think had many, maybe one during his, national title run over with Sioux Falls, right? At a lower division of college football. Bama's got a really good wide receiver room. They got a really good running back room. The offensive line is stacked and loaded. I think Alabama is really, really talented, and I think they beat Auburn on the road, giving Auburn a record of 7-5. 7-5. The way I've talked about this team, there's a lot of talent here. 7-5 could feel like a disappointment. It is under that overall win total according to FanDuel, but it's a step in the right direction. Building blocks, right? And especially if you're going to look at Jackson Arnold in 2026, he shows some good improvement this year. Ooh, I'd really watch out for the Auburn Tigers in 2026. I think this year's a nice stepping stone. I don't think they get all the way there. Couple letdowns, couple surprises, but Auburn will be a solid team in 2025. Let me know what you think in the comment section below, and remember to play hard but tailgate harder. See you guys in the next video. Goodbye.